Hi YouTube, and welcome back to my random thoughts on Thursdays. And this week I'm doing the NaNoWriMo Tag. Alright, so last week obviously I posted a video that I was doing NaNoWriMo, and I thought that I would do the NaNoWriMo tag that Christina Horner, also known as I Love the Snakes on YouTube, has put out there into the world, and I just watched it the other day and I was like, oh, perfect for my next random thoughts. So without much further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and go into the questions for the tag. Question 1. How many times have you done NaNoWriMo? So this is my first time I've ever done NaNoWriMo. I've heard about it for years and years, but this is my first attempt. Question 2. How did you first find out about NaNoWriMo? And believe it or not, Christina Horner, who started this tag in the first place, she's how I first found out about it. Years and years ago, I got into the band that she was in, all caps, and I really liked the music and the fun skits and things that she and her now ex and stuff put together on YouTube, and I really loved her work and stuff, and I started following her personal vlogs and everything, and reading her blog online called Oh Hey Christina and everything. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed her work. And she did a NaNoWriMo song, and she's talked about NaNoWriMo. This is, I think, her 10th NaNoWriMo and everything. So every year I was like, oh, there's no way I could write 50,000 words in a month. And I just was always intimidated by the concept. But she's where I first found out about NaNoWriMo in the first place. Question 3. What was the name of the first novel you attempted with Nano? Well, this is my first year, so the title is Artifact of the Dawn, and let's see. Oh yes, and so that leads us into question 4. Give us a one-sentence summary of what you're writing this year. So it's Artifact of the Dawn. It's a sci-fi fantasy novel with a little bit of romance in it. It's actually going to be a gay romance, so for anyone who opposes that, please don't bother reading because you're not going to like it. But it's mostly fantasy and sci-fi. The romance is sort of like a side part of the story, and basically the premise comes from, I asked myself this question. It's like, well, what if you're in a fantasy world where they have elves and humans, and I'm kind of skipping dwarves and the rest of the fantasy characters, and it's just elves and humans in this world. But what if elves, because you see a lot of fantasy stories where a lot of the different races are offshoots of humans, but elves are not. Elves are kind of their own thing. So my thought was, well, what if elves really came from another planet? What if they're not originally from the world that they live on now with the humans and other creatures and things? And so that's what started my thinking of, well, how can I make that into a story? And so that's basically what I'm writing about is, you've got this kind of a traditional medieval fantasy world with elves and humans and things, and rivalries between the two races, of course. But then there's a discovery. There's this artifact that they discover, and it leads them to some rather amazing conclusions as to the origins of the elves. Alright, so question 5. What's the best writing advice you've ever been given? I actually saw this on a meme recently, and to be perfectly honest, I think this is really helping me make my current story a lot better. And I'm just paraphrasing here, but the quote basically is, don't give your readers 4, give them 2 + 2. So don't tell them directly what it is you want them to know. Let them come to their own conclusion based on how you write it. So give them 2 + 2, let them come up with 4 on their own. And to be perfectly honest, I think that's actually helped me, because I've actually rewritten several paragraphs and sections of the story now, because I'm like, you know what, I'm telling too directly. I need to be more subtle about this, and I rewrote it so that it's like, okay, people can kind of come to this conclusion on their own by reading this, rather than just telling them outright. To be perfectly honest, I think it actually does make for a better story. So I'm going to try and continue doing that, and hopefully the story ends up being really good. Well, at least I can hope, right? Alright, question 6. Did you ever take a year off from Nano and why? Well, this is my first year, so no, I have not. Question 7. What's your biggest inspiration when figuring out what to write? Well, majority of what I've written so far this year, not outside of NaNoWriMo, has all been fan fiction. So my inspiration so far has been the fandoms that I've been writing for. The primary fandom I write for is Dragon Age, which is a video game series that I'm just absolutely addicted to. I've done a couple of stories, one that's not complete yet, for the TV show Merlin. There's a lot of material there that's interesting. And then I've done one little short piece for Sailor Moon. That was actually the first fan fiction I ever wrote, was my Sailor Moon piece. It just kind of is a filler scene that I think is implied in the manga and in the newest one, the Sailor Moon Crystal, which follows the manga much more closely. And so I'm just kind of filling in that Sailor Moon scene. So that was my very first one. Anyway, but those have been my inspirations, and because I write a lot of in the area of fantasy because of Dragon Age, and there's elves and dwarves and humans and all this stuff, I guess that's where my inspiration came from to write this story, is just thinking about who are the elves, why are they so different from all the other races, etc. And I've also always loved fantasy and sci-fi. My favorite book series of all time is the Shannara series by Terry Brooks, which is being made into a TV show now. So free endorsement there, because I'm not being sponsored or anything, but I love Shannara. It's over 20 books now. I've read most of them. I think about 3 books behind right now, but it's because I've been so busy writing this year, I haven't had as much time to read, so sorry, Terry, but I'm just enjoying producing content rather than reading it now, but I will catch up. I want to read every single Shannara book ever. Okay, question 8 is read us the first sentence of a novel that you've written. So since this is my first NaNoWriMo, this is my first novel, so this is the first sentence of Artifact of the Dawn. Arden crept silently through the brush, his eyes intent upon his target. So there's the first sentence. You want more? I'm going to have a link down below to my NaNoWriMo page. I've got an excerpt in there that's a little, well, it's from later on in the chapter and everything, but I do have other, I do have a little bit more content than that and everything, and I am thinking of releasing, actually I posted, I'll put a link down below, I posted on Tumblr a larger excerpt from the first chapter. It's lightly edited, so it's not in its final form by any means, it's relatively raw format still, but to give you a kind of a taste of the novel and a taste from my writing style and stuff. So I'll have a link to the Tumblr down below, as well as to my NaNoWriMo page. Alright, so final question, question 9. Why do you love writing? I've always been a writer in some sense or another, although I haven't really done any serious fiction writing until this year. This is like the first year I've really kind of gotten the bug to do it. Although I loved writing when I was in school and everything, and still remember, this goes way back to when I was in 2nd grade, so I was like, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, and our teacher had an assignment for us. It was just before Halloween too, where like everyone had to take out a sheet of paper. She came around the room and she had stickers, and she put a sticker right in the middle of everyone's paper, and she's like, write a story about that sticker. And I still remember my sticker was a picture of a really cute little witch, and so I don't remember the story that clearly because it's obviously a long time ago, but I do remember that she was a misunderstood little witch who wasn't accepted by the rest of the other witches, but somehow she had a happy ending or something. And I don't remember quite how she got to the happy ending and how she got accepted or something. And to be perfectly honest, I think that was basically, I was writing about me. I was the witch, and I wasn't accepted by my peers. I was teased and bullied a lot because I was rather quiet. I didn't speak perfect English when I first started school. I grew up speaking German at home, so there was a lot of things, like I knew how to speak English, but there was a lot of things I didn't know how to say in English because I watched Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers' Neighbor and everything, and they never actually said, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom. So that was one of the things. It's like, you know, I had to learn how to say I need to go to the bathroom in English because I only knew how to say it in German, among other things. So there was all of this kind of teasing and stuff, but that was my first real solid memory of me writing a story and really having a lot of fun writing it. And then I had a variety of creative writing classes that I took in high school and college and everything, and I loved every minute of those. But then I kind of got away from that. I ended up getting a degree in education. I became a teacher. And then I kind of moved out to Colorado. Long story short, I changed careers and I went into technical writing. And so ultimately the tech writing led into me doing web stuff and everything, but I still ended up doing a lot of tech writing. I spent 11 years at a tech company, and I did a lot of the process documents, the training manuals, etc. for our department. And so I got really good at that, and that kind of led me to start writing blogs, which are kind of also kind of nonfiction. So I kind of did a lot of nonfiction writing for a very long time. And then I don't know, I just got inspired by that one Sailor Moon thing, and I'm like, you know what, there's a missing piece here. I'm gonna write about that. And then I started getting into Dragon Age, and I'm like, I've got to write stuff about this. So there's like, what if this scenario happened? What if that scenario happened? And I just started having all these different what if questions in my brain, and I'm like, and the stuff has just kind of been pouring out of me, and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm in a very happy place when I'm writing, and I've got all these ideas, and I just want to get them out on paper. And even if no one else likes anything I write, I actually find that I'm really enjoying reading what I write. And to be perfectly honest, it's fun that other people have started to take note of my writing. I think, because I post most of everything on Archive of Our Own, and I'll put a link down below to that. Warning, most of it's not safe for work. I do a lot of homoerotic fiction. I'm not ashamed of it one bit, which is why I'm putting a link down below. So if you have any interest in reading some of my stuff, my longest work is Dimensional Dislocation, and that one's actually novel length. In fact, hold on, back. So this one fan fiction story I wrote called Dimensional Dislocation is actually like a novel length book. In fact, just so you can see it, I actually had it printed. Yes, this is a fan fiction story. It's not for sale. This is the only existing copy that I'll ever have. It's fan fiction, and everything. And you can see the lovely cover art here. The cover art was actually done for me as a commission by a deviant artist, Gone Dash Batty on DeviantArt, and Lol Batty. You can actually see the name Lol Batty there on Tumblr. And I asked for the commission, and it's a scene in the book itself, in the story. It's on Archive of Our Own, so just go down the link below and you can read it if you want to. There's a lot of BDSM in it. I actually consulted with some people who are in the BDSM lifestyle, and they told me, yes, my BDSM scenes are a lot more accurate than 50 Shades of Grey. So keep that in mind. This is no great work of literature by any means, but people seem to have enjoyed reading it, and I knew it was 87,000 words, or over 87,000 words when I finished it, and I was like, well, gee, I wonder what it would look like if it was a book. And I just went to lulu.com. I usually do CreateSpace for my self-publishing, but for CreateSpace, you just have to publish. You don't get a choice not to publish. With Lulu, you can actually just upload the files and everything and just get a single copy, and that's it. You don't have to publish anything. So for single books like this, it was perfect and everything. So I decided to, I got a little spine and everything, and you can actually see there's actual words. I wrote all of this. I don't own the characters by any means, but I'm pretty thrilled about the fact that I actually wrote something that's like the size of an actual freaking book. It was just so cool. And I figured if I can do this with fan fiction, I have a shot at an original fiction. And so that's what I'm trying to do with the Artifact of the Dawn, is to hopefully self-publish. I already lined up a gal who did the illustrations for the children's picture book I did. She's gonna do the cover art and various other related illustrations for Artifact of the Dawn. And I've got a couple of friends who volunteered to do both proofreading and editing for me, so that when I do eventually publish, it'll actually have had several sets of eyeballs on it, and it's not going to be just, you know, nothing at all. Anyway, enough of my rambling, but lots of links below. Are you doing NaNoWriMo? If you are, you know, leave comments below and answer the questions in the comments, or, you know, do your own video and link me to it so that I can see it. And, you know, until next time, I appreciate everyone who watches. You know, please give me a thumbs up if you enjoy the video. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.